Hello, I'm James Mills and you're watching CATEX TV broadcasting live from Princeton, New Jersey. The time is currently 11:30 a.m. in New York, 4:30 p.m. in London and 12:30 p.m. in Hamilton, Bermuda. Firstly, on this day in 1936, after ruling for less than 1 year, Edward VIII becomes the first English monarch to voluntarily abdicate the throne. He chose to abdicate after the British government, public and the Church of England condemned his decision to marry the American divorcee Wallis Warfield Simpson. Also on this day in 1944, the city of Toronto, Canada is battered with its worst ever snowfall. 21 people died as a result of the storm, in which nearly 20 inches of snow fell in a single day. Today's birthdays are Brenda Lee, who is 64 and sang the famous Christmas song, Rocking Around the Christmas Tree, and Democratic Party candidate for the US presidency in 2004, John Kerry, who is 65. We have no breaking news today, so we'll go straight to our main news. The number of US workers filing new claims for jobless benefits surged to a 26-year high last week as employers tightened their belts to help weather what many fear will be a deep, long recession. Initial claims for state unemployment insurance benefits jumped last week by 58,000 to 573,000, suffering the biggest increase since September 2005, the Labor Department said today. It was the highest reading since November 1982. Separate reports showed the US trade deficit swelled unexpectedly in October as weak economies around the world imported less from the United States, while US import prices registered a record decline last month as the bottom fell out for oil prices. It's now clear what we are all afraid of, that the global recession is taking its toll on what had been one of the main props of the US economy's expansion, said David Ressler, chief economist of Nomura Securities in New York. US stocks opened weaker and the dollar added to losses on the data, while prices for US government debt rose. Government data earlier this month showed the US economy shed 533,000 jobs in November, the most in 34 years. And analysts said the weaker than expected jobless claims data indicated the bloodletting was not yet over. We are expecting the absolute worst of the economic downturn right now, said TJ Martha, fixed income analyst at RBC Capital Markets in New York. We're in a period of complete freefall in the term of economic growth. In today's data, a 4-week moving average of new claims, a better gauge of underlying trends, and the number of unemployed claiming benefits after initial week of aid has also hit 26-year highs. The number of continued claims jumped by 338,000 in the week ended November the 29th to 4.43 million. It was the biggest increase in 34 years. Insurer XL Capital Limited said yesterday it is reviewing ways to enhance shareholder value and is being assisted in that effort by Goldman Sachs Group Inc. The announcement comes after speculation earlier yesterday that XL Capital hired Goldman to look for possible buyers of the Hamilton, Bermuda-based insurance company. A Bloomberg report said it could struggle to find potential buyers. That helped send shares sharply lower yesterday. XL Capital shares tumbled 32.6% yesterday to close at $3.9 a share. XL Capital has struggled in recent quarters with mounting investment losses amid the ongoing credit and equity markets turmoil. The insurer also said market value losses on its investment portfolio in the fourth quarter are about equal to those reported in the third quarter. The losses include unrealized losses, other than temporary impairment charges, and realized losses on the scale of securities. During the third quarter, XL Capital reported unrealized losses on investments of a staggering $825.3 million US, net realized losses of investments of another $292.9 million, and another $58.5 million US in losses from derivatives. Aside from the investment losses, Excel Capital also estimates it will report affiliated losses of between $200 million US and $220 million US from its alternative investment portfolio. And elsewhere in the world, at least 40 people are missing after a boat sank off the coast of Cameroon. The motorized wooden boat was carrying up to 60 people when it hit a storm in the Gulf of Guinea. 6 men from Burkina Faso and Nigeria have been rescued by Cameroonian fishermen as they clung to a plank of wood from the boat. It is thought the boat was traveling from the Nigerian city of Lagos to Gabon with illegal immigrants looking for work. The journey between Nigeria and Cameroon is perilous, but many take the risk to find work in the oil and gas industry in the Guinea and Gabon region. In Belgium police said they have detained 14 people suspected of being members of Al-Qaeda network. They include a man believed to have been about to launch a suicide attack, officials said. The detentions came as a 2-day European Union Leaders Summit was due to start in the Belgian capital, Brussels. Today, in fact, actually this afternoon. A total of 242 police officers carried out 16 raids in Brussels and one in the eastern city of Liège, officials said. Police seized computers, data storage equipment and a pistol during the raids, reports say, and the men and women arrested are due to appear before anti-terrorism judges later. And continuing with terrorism, a suspected suicide bomber has killed at least 47 people at a restaurant near the northern Iraqi city of Kirkuk, police say. Around 102 people were injured in the explosion at the Kurdish restaurant, some 5 kilometers north of the city. The reason for the attack is not yet clear, but Kirkuk is home to a mix of Kurds, Arabs and Turkmens. The blast came as Muslims elaborated the Eid al-Adha holiday. Families were eating lunch in the Abdullah restaurant located on the main road of Erbil when it happened. A suicide bomber activated an explosives belt in the middle of the restaurant, officials said, and at least one witness has confirmed this, although one Interior Ministry official was quoted as saying a car bomb was the cause. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what the actual cause was. However, there were also unconfirmed reports that Kurdish officials were also in the restaurant having lunch with Arab tribal leaders at the time. In Sri Lanka, about 90 Sri Lankan soldiers have been killed in the latest fighting in the north of the country, the pro-rebel TamilNet website says. The army has denied the figures, but officials have conceded that they have met stiff resistance from the rebels. Both sides were accused of routine understating their own casualties while overstating those of their enemy. Independent reporters are banned from going to the war zone, so confirmation of conflicting figures is impossible at this time. In Canada, the biggest takeover in Canada's history has collapsed on the day it was supposed to have been completed. A group led by Ontario Teachers' Pension Plan Board has agreed to buy BCE, owner of Bell Canada, for a value of $34.8 billion Canadian dollars in June 2007. But the accountants at KPMG said last night the company would fail solvency tests because it had too much debt. It is good news for the banks that had agreed to provide the 35 billion Canadian dollars of debt to finance a deal. One of the conditions for closing the deal was receiving an independent solvency opinion. The buyout deal was done